COVID was one of the most difficult things that I as a physician have ever experienced. It was an immense amount of pain for families and for patients. Our COVID unit was a really difficult place for these people to be. Oftentimes, we didn't have enough beds. They were sharing a room with a complete stranger. They weren't sure that they were going to live. They were in really a dark place. They were unable to see their families for days and days on end. And whenever I first saw Miss Janice's scans, along with the rest of her medical history, I just would have said, this lady's not going to make it.
My story starts with August of 21. When I got to the hospital, they brought the wheelchair out. They had to help me out of the car. I was so weak. So then they started checking, doing my oxygen, and it was in the 80s. So I was scared because my thoughts were, if I go into the hospital, they're going to put me on a vent. And that scared me to death, honestly. Well, then a little nurse came in and she said, "I'm just afraid for you to go home." My husband and I talked it over, and I was scared to death, but I stayed.
A lot of these COVID patients, they were so sick, their lungs weren't working properly. They weren't accepting oxygen. They weren't able to blow the oxygen off the way that they needed to. And whenever that's the case, right before we decide to actually intubate someone or to put a tube down their throat and to actually let a machine breathe for them, the step before that is we can use something called BiPAP. And so that is a process where we put a mask on their face, and it actually forces air into their lungs and then pulls it back off. A good way to think about that is it's helping the patient to get a good full breath.
Evidently, the first time that they had tried to put the BiPAP on me, I didn't remember this, but I couldn't tolerate it. Dr. J was the one. She said, "Janice, promise me that you'll try this tonight." And I said, "I'll try." The nurse came in to put it on me, and I said, "Can I say a quick prayer?" Because I'm very prayer oriented. I think God helps me with everything. So I said a little prayer, and he put the mask on me. Well, then at 4:00 in the morning, I woke up and I was panicking. So here comes the nurse. And I said, "I'm sorry, I panicked." And he said, "That's okay." He said, "You've worn it for 6 hours," and said, "Your numbers look so much better." So from 10 o'clock to 4 o'clock in a 6-hour period, I went from literally dying to they think I'm going to be okay.
Miss Adams' case of COVID was so severe that she wasn't able to get that big full breath on her own. And so whenever we put the BiPAP on her, it actually helped her lungs to function better. She was able to accept air better. It helped to push her lungs open for us. And it helped for us to be able to pull the air, or what we would call CO2, off of her, and therefore helped her to breathe quite a bit better.
So my experience at Rockcastle was great. The nursing staff was great. I wouldn't have wanted to be anywhere else. I just felt like I got the best care. So the day I go home, my husband pulls out to the front, and all we could do was just hold each other and cry. He said, "I didn't think I was going to get to bring you home." I do want to thank God for blessing me with my life since this has happened. It's like every day I'm blessed to be here.
She's one of my favorite patients to see in the clinic because I do think that she is something to celebrate. It's one of the stories that can make us feel good. It's a feel-good story, and it's positivity, and hey, who doesn't need more of that in their daily routine? Whenever I see her, it makes my day better, and I always look forward to it whenever I know that she's going to be on my schedule.
She's just like part of my family now. I mean, really. I just love her.